Good evening, everyone. My name is Mazezoke, and welcome to Njenje Media TV, and thank you for joining me this evening. This evening, I will be looking at the Niger crisis, and Nigeria appears to still be in the news. As you all know, there was a coup in Niger Republic, and since then, Nigeria appears to be at the epic center. It appears, the current people at the helm of affairs in Nigeria are hell-bent on attacking Niger. Nigerians in Niger have shown their solidarity within last week. We all saw that they never wanted any coup. They denounced their nation in the sense that they joined the protest and said, please, there should be dialogue. Dialogue. On this platform, multiple times we've actually said, no matter what you do, in every war, it ends on a negotiating table. If this is true, that every war ends on a negotiating table, why do you have to go to war ab initio? Sadly, we know that the Nigerian Senate had rejected the call for the authorization, or rather the information that was passed to the Senate regarding Niger. They rejected that. Northern groups, because Nigeria is bordered with Niger in about 7 states, I think 7 or 8 states, including Sokoto and Jigawa and Co. If you look at that, imagine people who have their kit and canes across the other side. Even the former president of Nigeria, some have said that he has his paternal side over there. But let us look at these things dispassionately. The reason why we are revisiting this again this evening is as a result of what the chief spokesperson of Tinubu has said today. We are going to bring this today to you. Let's review this, and we'll think that it remains still wrong in any way, shape, or form for Nigeria to lead ECOWAS into fighting their neighbors. On this platform, multiple times I have told us, like my late father normally says, he who wants to separate fight must start by separating finger pointers. When you point finger, I go do you this, I go do you this. That's when you start the separation of fight. It does us nothing. Nigeria doesn't have money. We have Boko Haram to deal with in Nigeria. We have all manner of insurrections happening in Nigeria. We need that resources. But if we ever go to war, no matter what, we are going to lose. If America or EU is going to give us war to prosecute any war, we are still going to lose. They are marketers. They have a product that they want to sell through us. Why is it that Europe formed the European Union? Schuman in the early, after the war, early 50s, why they formed it was very simple: to avoid another war on European soil. Right? Germany, no matter the provocation, is not going to fight Italy. Neither is it going to fight France. So why, if a people are protecting fight and war in their soil, why would we be the ones that they will provoke and push to go and fight on their behalf? Like Derofore to me says, do not die in their war. They would use Nigerians and our Nigerian soldiers, our kith and kin, our brothers and sisters, to fight this. We must not allow this to happen. this is the time for Africans to come together and ensure that this doesn't happen. Think about this for a moment. Nigeria is going to go into a war. A government that many have argued is illegitimate is going to go and fight a moral war based on legitimacy, based on the fact that you think that those who have those who have planned and executed a successful coup d'etat, that their means of coming to power is illegitimate. Then I ask, those who have gone to election and rigged the election, the process with which they came to power is also illegitimate. Those who have asked their supporters in Lagos to go after certain ethnic nationalities in Nigeria and do not allow them to vote, and when some came out, people lost their legs, some lost their eyes, some died because they looked, and some of them, like some people from certain part of Nigeria. There is a video trending where after Chatham House engagement with APC people, they've gone to a restaurant in London, and there and then another was being dished. Grab it, snatch it, and run with it, because power, according to him, is not given a la carte. This evening, we would also look at why, after the whole gra and bravado, Festus Keyamo finally apologized to Nigerian senators. And after his apology, he was eventually confirmed as a minister. So let's bring this in here and let's go through this, because this would help us understand what is at stake. I have intentionally here, for before someone accuses us as not liking the regime, therefore trying to downplay our objectivity on this platform, I decided to use the People's Gazette. People's Gazette also, the owner is of the same ethnic stock as Bola Tinubu. At least you cannot accuse them of having an ethnic agenda here. And in their report that came out about an hour or so ago, he says, and I read for us, that new set of sanctions has been imposed on groups, organizations, and individuals identified as giving support to the military junta in the Niger Republic. Ajuri Ngalela, that is the bearded half-caste, you know him, worked with Channels TV. Sorry, worked with Channels before he became the special assistant, special advisor to president on media and publicity. Invariably replacing what was his name? Anyway, forgotten you see how they move when they leave, we forget their names. So he reviewed today in Abuja why briefing state correspondence. He said, and I quote here, Mr. Tinubu has already directed the acting governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN. Meanwhile, let's stop there. The governor of Central Bank is still in prison now. He is still under DSS custody. Remember that DSS and prison services fought last 2 weeks. Who is going to keep Godwin Emefiele in their custody? So, in actual sense, Emefiele has not been suspended, or rather has not been sacked. Emefiele still remains the substantive central bank governor. But in this case, the story has it here that the president has directed the acting CBN governor to implement this directive in accordance with ECOWAS protocol. Now, what is that directive? And then he goes on to say, I can report that following the expiration, which was on Sunday, of the deadline of ultimatum and standing on the pre-existing consensus position of financial sanctions meted out on the military junta, Bola Ahmed Tinubu has ordered an additional slew of financial sanctions. Listen, northern Nigeria is hurting. Guys, if you think this does not concern you, do not, because probably you are sitting in Abuja, in Lagos, or anywhere in the south thinking, well, it's something that happens in Niger and in northern Nigeria. If this madness continues and the north, if you squeeze what is happening there, a lot of the people, once they are hungry, they will move down south. We know what happened during the COVID time. It is human instinct. You in the south, you may wish, when you feel that you have nothing else, some of you, you can, if you have the money and visa, you can jackpot abroad, or you can go through Libya to Italy to use boats. You can, you may survive or you may not. We've seen a video now about where about 156 Nigerians died in the sea on their way to Jakba. It is because of policies that have killed Nigerians consistently. Here, we are once again, Nigeria is being led into unnecessary trouble, because this action, honestly, is not needed. Now, he went on to say that the sanctions are being carried out through the Central Bank of Nigeria on entities and individuals related to or involved with the military junta in Niger Republic, he said. On the deadline given to the junta, Mr. Ngalale decried the media report linking the decision of ECOWAS to the person of the president. Well, I may slightly disagree, with him here, because it is the same. When Tinubu acts as the president of the ECOWAS, it is very hard to de-associate himself from ECOWAS. Recall that when Buhari was the president, he would say that when the APC under Oyegun had the APC report on restructuring, Buhari did not implement it, but argued that this was APC report, not Buhari's report, thereby de-associating himself from APC. However, Buhari and APC is like 6 and half a dozen. So in this case, as long as he remains the president of ECOWAS, for the first time, ECOWAS is being so divided. There has never been in history where ECOWAS will say A is going to happen, and you see countries within the ECOWAS sub-regions actually rising up and saying, no, we are not going to join. We have countries, Burkina Faso, Guinea, you have countries now saying, no, we're not going to be part of this. Concerning the ultimatum given the military junta in the Niger Republic, the ECOWAS mandate and ultimatum is not a Nigerian ultimatum. Yes, it's not a Nigerian ultimatum, but someone is going to drive it. The office, in his explanation now, that is Ajuri here, in the office of President Bola Tinubu, who is also serving as chairman of ECOWAS, seeks to emphasize this point. Of course, you can emphasize this point 1 million times. It does not, in any way, shape, or form, take away the fact that you cannot separate the two. It is because of this that Mr. President has deemed it necessary to state unequivocally that the mandate and ultimatum issued ECOWAS is that ECOWAS position, and he said, again, people, think about it. There is a video I actually had where someone, I think that was from a Ghanaian, who I believe understood what is at play here and made some interventions that, fits exactly what we are talking about here. Let's see if I can get that video up, then I can, so that in order for some of us to also understand and what is indeed at play here. No matter how we dice, no matter how we look at it, something has to be at play here, right? And that thing that is at play is very simple. No matter how we look at it, Nigeria is, or ECOWAS, led by Nigeria, because there's no way you can separate the two. Nigeria is leading ECOWAS. You're a president who is still battling legitimacy. Some people are actually arguing that the reason why he's appears to be hell-bent on this is to probably legitimize himself. But having said that, let's listen to this man from Ghana so that we see another perspective to what is at play here.
We have in West Africa. They go and make Tinubu, they are not even patient enough to wait for the outcome of the petition before they wait to their chairman. And then they turn around and tell us that, oh, as for them, they love democracy. What kind of democracy do they love? Who is going to benefit from military intervention in Niger? It's the West. If you take France, 1 out of every 3 light bulbs is powered by uranium from Niger. 1 out of every 3 light bulbs is powered by uranium from Niger. And yet, Niger is one of the poorest countries in the world. And our leaders are not thinking about this paradox. You understand? What they care about is going to install one of their colleagues who messed up so much. You understand? That's what they care about. If you take all of the French-speaking African states, all of them keep their foreign reserves in the Central Bank of France. The consequence is that these African countries borrow their own money. And
no. You see where hypocrisy is killing Africa, and sometimes where the younger generation is actually telling them that we do not have elders who actually have it rightly up here. France is forcing you to keep your foreign reserve in France. Yet ECOWAS appears incapable to speak up and say this is slavery in the year 2023. These are things ECOWAS should be fighting, economic community of West Africa. And someone is sitting somewhere in Europe raping your continent. You are not able to speak. Over time, people are dying, people are hungry. I'm not in any way, shape, or form defending the coupist or anything. But the thing is that if the system is failing and they think, well, rather than us to descend into anarchy and war, we step in and have stability rather than go in and see how it can be negotiated. I understand that the Sultan of Sokoto and former head of state of Nigeria, General Abu Salami Abubakar, was in Niger and they were not allowed to see the head of the junta. I do not know the details, but again, were that to be the case, I think that was a grave mistake, because hate Generals Abu Salami Abubakar, like him or hate him, he is one of those few that necessarily, these are people that have amassed so much wealth in Africa and in Nigeria and the West African sub-region, that they do not in any way, shape, or form want to see it go up in flames, because they want to always intervene so that they can retire in peace. Just like T.Y. Danjuma. If anything happens that Middle Belt goes in flames, if he runs away at his age, where is he going to run? He probably could not, as a man who never lived in Europe for that long, he probably cannot withstand the cold weathers of Canada or Germany or England or anything like that. So it's better that it is actually in their best personal interest that Nigeria and Africa remains as peaceful as ever, for them to even enjoy whatever they've made in this part of the world and for them to enjoy them in peace. But the question is, you have seen it, what this Ghanaian man said. No matter how we look at it, people, I personally believe that we should de-escalate. And also the coupists in Niger, at some point, you must also come down from your high horse and engage. I understand that the American Deputy Secretary was in Niger yesterday, and met some people, but he didn't also meet them because they did not want to. I read that on Twitter, and I made my comment that I hope no one accepted tea from the Americans as they visited Niger. Remember in 1998, when Nigeria was at a crossroad, they also visited MKO Abiola in prison, and after that visit, MKO Abiola became history, as he allowed himself to be served tea by them. And I do believe and also wish that those in Niger do not accept tea from any European or any American trying to, push themselves as those who have come to fight for you or anything in that manner. So, people, I honestly wish that Nigeria will begin, or rather ECOWAS at large will begin the process of de-escalating, that these constant conversation of war does not increase. It's already affecting us. If you're flying from Europe and you want to use Air France or BA or Lufthansa, check the price. Since 3 days now, the price has gone totally mad. You know why? If you use Air France most times and you're going to Port Harcourt, or if you use Lufthansa and you're heading to Port Harcourt, most times they will have to stop in Niger and head to Port Harcourt. They use Niger airspace to fly from Europe to here. Now, because the airspace is short, they are now avoiding Niger airspace because it's part of those sanctions. So if they have to go do that, to avoid that, they have to increase the amount of fuel, the aviation fuel they are going to use to come into Nigeria, and that is inadvertently increasing the price of air travel in Nigeria. This is unnecessarily on a time that Nigerians are already hurting regarding the removal of fuel subsidy in Nigeria, that everything has gone astronomically. We mustn't die when we go on the road. We mustn't die when we are on Okada. Neither must we die when we are even flying. This is something that is affecting Nigerians as we are making progress, but it appears those are the hem of affairs. Instead of making progress, we are heading backwards. We saw it with the previous government. Nigeria appears to have gone 10, 15 years backwards. I can't say it enough. Buhari's government was the mother of all disasters. It appears, by all indication, that the one currently in place, amidst the illegitimacy of it, the catastrophic is already foretold, or rather the catastrophe is already foretold. Now, as many of you know, Festus Keyamo, almost sometimes very vivacious, like Adams or Shomole, he was once, very argumentative with those in the Senate, and they had asked him once. To appear before them. He was there in the Senate, and he did argue a lot with them. He did a lot of argument with them, and in that argument, it didn't go down with the Nigerian Senate, and the Nigerian Senate waited for him. And as it is now, yesterday, as I updated us, he was given the best or the better part of the Senate treatment. He eventually apologized. After all,
usual, the expected could only happen if the president is against them covertly.
So let's in the meantime. So let's watch this from the Arise crew this morning.
Reactions also trailed the screening and confirmation of former Minister of State for Labor and Employment and Productivity, Festus Keyamo, who was made to apologize to the Senate for disrespecting both chambers of the National Assembly in 2020 when he ignored summons to explain the disbursement of 52 billion naira public works program meant for Nigerians across 774 local governments during his tenure as minister. The Senate witnessed a rowdy session after Senate Minority Whip Darlington Nwankocha raised a motion for the suspension of Keyamo's screening pending investigation.
I would like us to grant him fair hearing since he had been running away from it, for Nigerians to know what really happened. Because I wouldn't like any person to be holding that, because this thing has been subject of debate here and there. What happened to the 52 billion? What happened to the... But he is here, and it's our responsibility to find out. So, Mr. President of the Senate, I'm of the opinion so strongly that he has to tell us what really happened, but not here. We have to keep it down a little bit. We're not saying that we're not going to clear him. This is a house that can reconvert at any point. You can even call for an emergency and we'll reconvert. Yes. We want a situation, we hold you responsible from the onset. I move a motion that we suspend forthwith this nomination and wait until when this is cleared.
Well, in the meantime, the clash between Festus Keyamo and the Joint Committee of the National Assembly on Labor back in 2020 resurfaced online, showing the lawmakers accusing Keyamo of hijacking the Public Works Program from the National Directorate of Employment.
You know, one thing that happened with Keyamo was, you know, had he at that point when they summoned him, had he been humble enough to speak to them without citing sections of Constitution, why he is right or not, he probably wouldn't have undergone through this. But it's also a humbling experience. You know, he's still going to get a position in this government, and he will still serve. Let's see and know if he's learned any lesson from what has happened to him. You know, during COVID, I can't forget this video. This was indeed a grandstanding. You know, the time everybody was still wearing face masks. And he was basically grandstanding. The man was shouting. He was on the other side shouting. He was shouting. He was on the other side.
How can you expose corruption without the cameras? I must respond. I won't respond to what you said. How can you respond without the cameras? They are not exceptional. We'll take it on with the president. Are you better than all the ministers? That I should bring the program away from the platform direct me. Playing to the gallery does not work here. Playing to the gallery does not work here. You cannot say something and disallow me the opportunity to respond. It's wrong. It's wrong. You make a submission now and you don't give me respect to respond.
You see, this was when they had the Orofo fight. The guy is sitting down there pointing at them. You know, they didn't take it very well with him, because afterwards the whole thing moved from inside these chambers and moved to the Twitter street. And he continued on the Twitter street.
All my life as a lawyer, I'm not I must respond to what you say. If you don't want me to respond, and you distract me, I will go. You distract me, I will go.
Oh, that was Keyamo in 2020, standing his ground. Well, Keyamo issued an unreserved apology to the National Assembly for ignoring their summons and his countenance.
Let me start with an unreserved apology.
He's now starting with an unreserved apology. Keyamo, after the 2021 Rambo fire mountain and everything, he's now back. And they played his sins before him. He's now humbled.
My apology is without reservation. It's total apology.
Total apology without reservation. You know what it means? I am on the ground. Please do with me whatever you wish. That is what an unreserved apology is. No reservation. In fact, he say, you know, in Nigerian parlance, where you say unreserved apology, it means every area is, you can go. There is no no-go area at all.
For the misunderstanding that arose between us in my committee at that time at the Ninth Assembly, I apologize without reservation, total apology. Regarding that program, every single payment, and I insisted to the past president that it must come from the central bank directly to the accounts of the people who were nominated to receive those funds. And so we as ministers, both ministers in the ministry and the head of the agency at that time that we supervised, never saw one kobo. It was straight, what we needed to do was to generate the list and pass to the CBN. Every detail is available at the National Director of Employment. Anybody can go there and ask for a copy. We have it in a flash and confirm every single one with a BVN number. They are all there for complete transparency. Till today, we did not see one kobo.
So, you see, that is what arrogance can do. I'm not doubting what he said. I'm not doubting that that due diligence was actually followed. You know, Nigeria is sometimes that when they really want to work, they can actually work. But I think where he got the whole thing totally wrong was when was asked to, what stopped you to, humbly explaining this to them? Nigerians are not idiots, because if Nigerians who were watching then, if they saw your explanation that it made sense, of course, they would have turned against the senators, but they called you and you were there shouting whether they had the right to even call you, yes, no, this, that. You were shouting.
That I needed to make that clarification. And like I said, I'm sorry for that misunderstanding.
Keyamo has made his clarification. He has apologized at this point. I mean, the question a lot of people are asking, that clarification could have come at the time that they were requesting it. But before I come to you, let me take some more tweets. This is from Henry, who wrote, I remember submitting my application for this particular program, but I never received an ordinary text message. Even my ward councillor, whom I submitted the form, insisted I scratch his palm before he could accept it from me. Well, another person there goes, the National Assembly screening and confirming a man who denigrated the institution that defines our democracy is a direct attack on their integrity and values. Denying Mr. Festus a ministerial position would have served as a deterrent to the new ministers. Is NASS really an arm of government?
Some Nigerians, they really like, if you poke my eye, you just chook and block the other eye, cook myself, an eye for an eye. But life isn't like that anyway. It's good sometimes to teach people a lesson, give them a second chance and see what happens.
No. Let's urge you. Apart from the fact that some people want to go after Mr. Keyamo,
yes,
let us state it the way it is. If Boson apologized, and they let him go, if Mr. Keyamo has apologized, they should also let him go.
Apologies is the word now, right?
But why is Mr. Keyamo very calm?
Rufai, you're very wicked. You say, why is he calm? What would you have wanted him to do? He can no longer go back. He can no longer go front. This is not.
5 days, it is a road. I know go back, I know go front. I know Giri make you go back. I know Giri make you come. The road you don't support. The people ask, I know Giri make you open the road. While I do no back, no foot, nothing. Government no look at the people. What you call government be this?
So, Rufai, please, this is not Sapele Road. There must be a way we can go front or we go back. So it's not Sapele Road where we cannot go front and we cannot go back.
Now that he wants Senate to be able to allow him go through, why was he shouting with so much? Why did he shout on this Senate that we were shouting on the House of Reps?
Rufai, you're forgetting it. He was trying to equivocate, and at that point he was.
Today, I want to declare without equivocation.
Now, that time he was equivocating. So that was the only reason that he was doing what he did.
Right before.
Fire, violence.
No. It's not a case of violence. It's just asking a question. It just shows you that when people want something, they are very calm and everything. But most importantly, Why do we have a country where a minister will not come in front of the Senate when they have asking him questions? And also, apart from all that Mr. Keyamo has said, I think we must even review how that program was conducted. Because you see, I remember when that it's not that Cutlass program.
Yes,
that we saw people Cutlass and everything. You get, the truth is, who got those monies? Were they in any way people that were closely affiliated? Just like now, we have been asking questions about those on the social register, and the questions can be answered. And
that is okay. But let me explain. No, it's okay. It's okay. Let me explain. It's okay. Now. It's okay. You must.
No, it's okay. I beg, enough. Don't beat him too much.
I benefited from this. We are seeing a consistent forensic audit into everybody and every account the money went into. We can't have a country where the palliative just go into all sorts of accounts. Yeah. And that's why we are saying this, leading up to the new announcements President Tinubu has made. The companies want to give 1 billion as support. We must go through a very transparent and rigorous process. The farmers who want to give incentives to be able to plant, we must go through a very transparent and rigorous process.
In fact, you must even take national newspaper or a dedicated website, publish all of their name, their town, their local government, so that when Ma says, okay, if they say I get 10 naira from them, you must know it. You go there, you see the name, the local government, the town. So who got what? So no hiding place this time around.
We must not have projects that just go down the drain that we cannot effectively account for. So that was what caused the kerfuffle, the conundrum, whatever you call it, Mr. Keyamo, yesterday. But you see, it is the humility that is striking for me. The way he's very humble, and there he was. But anyway, people can raise their voice when they are making an argument.
Anyway, Rufai, all you have to know is it's like a Benjamin. You can, when you cut here, you jar here, so that makes you a Benjamin. At that point, Keyamo was behaving like a
in Igbo. If Ben and Nigeria, Ben Obodo, or Yemen, or you have a Benjamin, Ben, or you have a Benjamin.
So he was trying to do Benjamin there. But at the end of the day, he's confirmed, and the ministers have been, everyone is expecting that they get their portfolio within the week or max by next week. No matter what, the appeal court also will be giving its final judgment. We are all expecting the appeal court to give the final judgment by next week, or obviously in 2 weeks' time. By law, we are expecting it to still happen this month. It could probably, we don't know what is in the minds of the legal minds, right? The judges. So all these ministers you see now, you may even see in history that some of them will not last 5-10 days in office and will just wipe all of them out. You understand it? So just keep calm. All of them, 48 of them, you see what will happen. On that note, I say thank you very much for joining me. I do not want this stream to, unless I have the joining link there, unless you want to join, unless if there is anything that you want to contribute. If not, we'll be calling it a day, because as many as many of you keep on inboxing me, we're trying to get these streams not to last for so long. So those who are unable to join us while we are live could also watch it without much trouble. On that note, I say thank you very much for joining me today. Join me again tomorrow. We would be live again tomorrow. But before then, before tomorrow, let's all hope and pray that we will not wake up tomorrow and hear that Nigeria has attacked or ECOWAS has attacked Niger. Please, we don't want to hear that. On that note, I say good night and God bless us all.